Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes Happy Hour Sports Talk. I, of course, am the brofict one, AJ. Happy Friday, August 15th, 2025. Hope you've had an incredible week, a great Friday, and ready to get into a solid weekend. We've got a big, nice news dump today. With the NCAA's Michigan findings coming out today, along with punishment, the Twins ownership being the worst in all of professional sports. NBA may have the worst streaming ever. WNBA drama, some NFL drama, Little League drama, everything today. But before we go any further, do just want to take a moment. Shout out to everyone watching here on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit that like button, hit the follow button. Does help us out a lot more than you know, but let's go ahead and start with the bombshell that was dropped today. And I mean, it wasn't really a bombshell that was dropped today in the sense that it came out of nowhere. We were given a full pretty much 24-hour notice that the NCAA's decision regarding their findings on Michigan and the Connor Stallion cheating scandal coming finally to a head with everything coming out. Let's go ahead and start with the punishment, and then we will go ahead and get down and dirty into what some of these findings were and where I stand on all of this. Let's go ahead and start with it's a laundry list. I mean, it's an absolute laundry list that we're looking at here. First of all, 4 years of probation, whatever that means. The financial penalties are $50,000 in fines plus 10% of the football budget, which is, I mean, it's Michigan. That's a shit ton of money, I can only assume. And then a fine equivalent to anticipated losses of all postseason competition revenue sharing associated with the 2025 and 2026 football season. So they will not get a cut of that pie and actually have to pay that fine up front instead, along with a 25% reduction in football official visits during the 25-26 season, 14-week probation on recruiting, communications in the football program during probation period. And then we get into the fun stuff. Connor Stallions with an 8-year show clause order. Jim Harbaugh with a 10-year show clause order, which will begin on August 7th, 2028, at the conclusion of his 4-year show clause order from a previous case. Denard Robinson, 3-year show clause order. Sharon Moore with a 2-year show cause order with, the 2-game self-suspension that is already going to be taking place starting, for game 3 and 4 of this season, and then game 1 of the 2026 season. Now, when you look at it just like this, when you just look at black and white, what's on paper, what the punishments are, the financial penalties come out to around $20 million, considering they're worth, that school is worth about $12.8 billion or whatever it is. Not too worried about that little drop in the bucket for them. And, the 3-4 games that, game 3 and 4 that Sharon Moore will be sitting out this year is against Central Michigan and then at Nebraska. So not huge games, kind of big game with Nebraska, but Michigan should be able to proceed how they do without Sharon Moore in those cases. The part that gets me, and the part that really makes me think like this is a slap on the wrist, especially with what they did end up finding, and we'll get into where the NCAA is coming from here, but it's the recruitment ones. Recruitment is so much different than what the NCAA has jurisdiction over now, essentially, that the 14-week probation is whatever, and then the 25% reduction of official visit is whatever. I mean, it's stuff that's not going to punish this school or not punish this system long. And the NCAA does go into talking about, yes, even though, maybe in past years, this would be a time where we see a postseason ban. It's moving away from postseason ban to a monetary type system, with NIL being what it's like and being everywhere, and essentially what's growing those programs now. And yes, all right, we're back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there, but um, yeah. Anyway, it's all just a slap on the wrist, really, for the school, and I'm okay with it. I'll be honest, it is a slap on the wrist for Michigan, but then you get to the people who are really behind everything. You get to the 10-year show clause of Harbaugh. You get to the 8 years of Connor Stallions, pretty much securing the fact that neither of them will work in college athletics again. Connor Stallions, it probably affects him a little bit more than Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh more than happy over with the Chargers, but it's more reflective of what occurred and what they found and what happened, And so why punish the players that are playing now that had nothing to do with this, weren't even in college when this happened. And most of that coaching staff and everything has been dispersed at this point. So it's kind of a moot point at this point. It's the show clauses are the big flashy thing coming out of this. And then everything else is money and 4 years. What the fuck is 4 years of probation? The NCAA throws out probation, I don't know, like a fisherman with lure, like just every 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, probation. Reel it back in, probation. Reel it back in. Something like that. But it's ridiculous. And it's dumb. And the NCAA is pretty much out of here with the new college commission coming in here from the government and everything. So good for them for getting this last case out of the way. I mean, I'm sure there's some gambling stuff that they need to wrap up, but anything else would have been laughed at. And I will say some of the evidence that they found or claimed to have found is pretty interesting. Connor Stallions was confirmed to be on that sideline of that Central Michigan game. Not only stealing signs, but, trying to decode that, but helping with with play calls on the sideline. Not only that, but he did, in fact, say he had a network, which he does talk about having a network of guys in the documentary, the Untold documentary they have on Netflix. He does talk about this being a close-knit group of dudes who decode signs and who maybe share notes and et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm just saying, if it is a whole circuit, why is it just Connor Stallions getting a show clause here and not everyone that was a part of that network? That is one thing that kind of I'm curious about personally is, well, they have this quote unquote network. Why don't we name names? Why don't we see who else was a part of this network? And that's because they don't want to go down that path. Because again, Stallions in Michigan isn't the only school to ever do this. And they sure as hell aren't the only school to stop doing it, not do it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to affect the school much going forward, besides the 3 games over the next 2 years that Sharon Moore is going to miss. $20 million in fine. I mean, let's be real. They're going to make that back probably in the first 3 home games. I mean, it's something that's a non-starter. They'll make that back on the Michigan-Ohio State game. You know what I mean? And I will say, shout out to Ohio State fans. Properly, and I don't know for good reason, but properly crashing out. And some of these responses are so funny. I mean, if I were a student at Scum, I would assume it's okay to cheat on term papers, etc. Just absolutely going at like the leadership of the school. And then a joke. This has ruined the rivalry for him, apparently. Apparently, this has ruined the rivalry for him and hasn't viewed it the same since the cheating scandal started. I mean, bro, like, get over it a little bit. Like, you're kind of being a baby. Moral of the story, you get caught cheating as a college sports program. The correct way to handle it is to fight, lie, obstruct. I'm assuming they meant obstruct. Who knows if Ohio's knows? Never mind. I'm not going to go there and deflect. The organizational equivalent of deny till you die. The NCAA will not hold you accountable in the end, even if you refuse to cooperate. That's because the NCAA doesn't have a spine and never really punishes schools with high grossing programs. Like, that's just not really what they do anymore. You can point to UFC and everything like that. And this is what the biggest one that Buckeye fans were really upset about. Keeping the wins, no asterisk, nothing. They just get to keep their wins, keep that natty, and keep it moving. At the end of the day, with all of this coming out, the evidence they claim to have and everything like that, I think the punishment fits the crime very good. And not often do we talk about the NCAA getting something right. I do think, in fact, this quote-unquote slap on the wrist is a good call for the NCAA. And don't get me wrong, I'm not all of a sudden a shill for the NCAA or anything like that. I still think they're the worst run program in the country, or organization, the most corrupt organization in the country. I think Michigan shows a little bit of that. At the end of the day, Michigan does bring in a shit ton of money when they're on TV. And so why would you shoot the golden goose at the end of the, you know what I mean? It is the big house for a reason. You can sell a lot of tickets in there and a lot of everything else, especially when they get into playoffs and everything like that. Not even that. But this was clearly, if they do have any evidence of anything, they have evidence of Connor Stalions maybe taking it a step too far of what the rules state. Perhaps that is true. And if that really is Connor Stalions on the Central Michigan sideline, how was that not caught game day? So you're telling me, and then how is Central Michigan not in trouble either? Because, so you're telling me that a staffer of Michigan got credentialed for a Central Michigan game as a coach or as a whatever he was, a special assistant or something, during the season while employed by Michigan. How is Central Michigan not getting dragged into this? It's because they're not a big enough school and no one really will give a shit. And it would kill that program. It wouldn't kill the program, but I mean, again, how this could go so much deeper than it is. And there's a reason it's not, because if we did go full can of worms on this, I mean, there would not be a head coach in the SEC or Big Ten probably that would be coaching a game this season. Let's be real about that. This is not something that was just one team. One team just got tipped off by the NCAA. It's a messy situation. It will always be a stain, not really on Michigan. I don't see this as a stain on Michigan. I see this more as a stain on the handling of the NCAA and their incompetence and unwillingness to truly get to the root of the issue. And if we want to be honest, be fair about this. You know what I mean? We're going to go ahead and fine Michigan $20 million. Well, again, what other schools were on that list? His Connor Stalions secret network. What other schools were on that list that were taking part in what Connor Stalions was coordinating or what Connor Stalions was a part of? Fine. You want to give him an 8-year show clause? What about the other guys? And granted, with the full-time switch to headsets and that communication, maybe not as much as a need. There still is signs in college football, and some teams, even with the communication, still have the boards and everything like that. So it's not something that'll ever be dead. It's something that will just be a little bit more in the background. I mean, again, more than anything, I'm shocked that NCAA actually said something or did something. This really felt like an issue that I thought was handled already. I think everyone thought this was pretty much handled already, but the NCAA said, "Hey guys, we still exist. Don't you forget, we still exist over here. We haven't said anything in a while, but we're back, baby. We're back." And when it rains, it pours with the NCAA. So they hand out this to Michigan. I'm assuming they're about to drop something else, whether it's gambling suspensions, whether it's another big fine to a school or another investigation that's going to be opening up. It doesn't, the NCAA tied this up too nicely with a bow for them not to leave anything else. And now, granted, Michigan did state they are going to go through the appeal process and consider all other options, which is going to end up being suing the NCAA. We'll see how that goes. That's going to go through discovery, and then we get that into the public eye. That's. I would love if honestly, I'd love if Michigan sued the NCAA over this, because the NCAA will want to settle. They will not want this to go to trial and get entered into public records or anything like that. Their findings with the Connor Stallions thing, where that tip came from, that initial tip to the NCAA, there's no chance they want that getting out, or the person who released the tip wants that getting out. And so it's going to get messy, and if this ends up going to court. And so we'll see what the appeal process says. We'll see what lawyers say, but there will be lawyers. There will be lawyers involved. A lot of lawyers making a lot of money per hour to fight about this. And whether the cheating, whether the sign reading was within the rules, and whether Connor Stallions was just really good at his job. Which I love that is pretty much out the window. You know what I mean? Like, not the idea that Connor Stallions just might actually have been really good at his job. You know, God forbid a guy works hard. You know what I mean? And actually tries. And he did. And shout out to Harbaugh. Harbaugh never threw him under the bus or anything like that. It didn't feel like a scapegoat thing with Connor Stallions. It felt like when the first reports came out, it was Connor Stallions. It was not some guy at Michigan or anything. It was, no, Connor Stallions at Michigan is stealing signs from every program imaginable, apparently, and appearing on sidelines, which again, there is a security issue. There is a payroll issue. There are so many other issues with Connor Stallions being on the CMU sideline than stealing signs. Why don't we investigate that, NCAA? If Connor Stallions can get on there, who the fuck else can get on there? You know what I mean, bro? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to the NCAA. NCAA never makes any sense, though. The day the NCAA makes any sense is the day they cease to exist. You know, it's one of those oxymorons or something like that can never be changed around. But it's wild. It's wild. The Michigan thing was wild. And it does seem like it is at an end for now. We'll see what happens when lawyers get involved and what this appeal process will bring. Again, I want it to go to court. I want this to go to discovery. I want this to drag out, and I want to see that evidence. I mean, it's unreal. It's unreal that this could have occurred. And again, the amount of people involved in this. Because, yes, it's just Connor Stallions, Harbaugh, Sherrone Moore, and someone else on this list. But this is Connor Stallions' entire network. This is other people at other schools helping those networks. People helping forge credentials of coaches that don't exist on the program squad in season while they're employed with another program. I mean, this can go so deep. And where did that tip come from? Where did the tip come from? That's what I want to know. Pablo Torre, if you're listening to this show by chance, please find that out. If you could. Where did this tip come from? That's what I want to know, Pablo. And if you could find that out, I would love to tune in Monday morning to that. Would love nothing more. But and honestly, shout out to Pablo Torre. He has been just putting out banger after banger. I mean, he's been killing the game. But anyway, final thoughts on Michigan. Yes, it is a slap on the wrist. I do think punishment fits the crime. The people that were responsible for this, it had nothing to do with players or anything like that. But the people that were responsible for this are gone from the program. Give them show clause so they can't participate in college athletics again, and wait for the impending lawsuit, because this appeal process is going to be quick. I promise you the appeals process is going to be nice and quick, because it's going to be like, oh, you want to appeal this? Appeal denied. Well, no, we just put it denied. No, we just denied. So. And shout out to the Michigan-based lawyers. I mean, they're probably going to get a nice little retainer coming their way in a bit. So shout out. I bet you a couple firms are popping bottles already. They're like, oh, shit, we got this. Got this on lock. But let's go ahead and take a break from the Michigan. And let's take a break from football for a sec. Let's talk some baseball. Because there's been an underlying storyline this season in the MLB that hasn't been very loud, but has been one that people have been keeping their eyes on, and that being the Minnesota Twins being for sale from the Pollad family. I believe I'm saying that right, the Pollad family. And they announced back on 2 days ago, Wednesday, that they were taking the team off the market and they were going to be taking on minority owners. Here, can we do this? Yep. The actual statement from them for more than 4 decades, yada, yada. We've owned this team, love our employees. Past several months, explored a lot of options, yada, yada, detailed and robust process. Family will remain principal owners of the Twins to strengthen the club in a rapidly evolving sports landscape. One that demands strong partnerships, fresh ideas, and long-term vision. We are in process of adding 2 significant limited partnership groups, each of whom will bring a wealth of experience and share our family values, etc., etc. So corporate speak for we ain't going nowhere. We are staying here. This is our baseball team, and there ain't anything you can do about it. And saying that Twins fans were upset by this news may be the understatement of the century. I mean, reports coming out. Let me see if I can find this. This one Twins fan taking the time out of his day to list out the Pollad family and what they are. Is this it? No. Yes, it is. This is a great post. I'll pull it up. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can go and view it from Pitch Profiler at Pitch Profiler. But it lays out this team not only from a baseball business. Oh, it's not this one, is it? No, this is part of it. But no, just how they let the Twins die, how they almost let them get relocated, how it's one of those just crazy things where, they ruined the base. Okay. I'm not going to, again, you can go and read it for yourself. The base of it being the family company is not doing well now, and they have buried assets in the Minnesota Twins under different names and stuff like that. But it's, it's technically legal. It's Twins property, but that debt is building up. You'll remember earlier in the year, Noah and I talked extensively about how excited he was that Matt Ishbia's brother, Justin Ishbia, was interested in buying the Twins because the Ishbias, as shown with the Suns, don't have a lot of patience and want to win now and don't care how much money they got to throw around for it. And so he gets an offer in, he gets a look at the books and realize, oh no, I'm not only taking on a program, I'm taking on a significant amount of debt. And it could have been, and then he moves on and buys a stake. I forgot who it was in. Oh, that is going to bug me. Who the hell did he buy a stake in? But anyway, Ishbia's with their history and everything. He moves on to another opportunity and spends his money there. It was the White Sox, actually. That's what it was. I don't need Grok to tell me. It was the White Sox, I believe. And go and do that. And then on top of that, the Twins go out and sell 11 of their starters at the trade deadline. And then on top of that, they're starting to throw GM under the bus of we don't know why that happened, et cetera, et cetera. And it's unbelievable. It's truly it is the White Sox. I was right. Because it's not just bad ownership at this point. You know what I mean? It's not mismanagement of just a baseball team. It's a mismanagement of another asset that has nothing to do with the program. And you're intentionally self-sabotaging for no reason now because you got to make the books lighter because you got debt to pay off and you can't afford to pay those players maybe. And so let's go ahead and just run a AAA squad out there. Is that what's happening? I mean, I'm trying to understand what's going on there because it has to be something related to non-baseball related debt. And you would think, well, how do you turn a baseball team around? Well, you get a good team, you sell a lot of tickets, which in case sells more merch, which in case drives up TV viewership and advertising and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're taking the route of, well, let's just stop spending money and we'll be fine because our fans are stupid and they're going to keep paying for tickets. And they're not. They're not. The amount of Twins fans I saw on Twitter last night canceling season tickets. And fun fact, you can select ownership as reason you're canceling tickets. But the amount of fans I was seeing cancel tickets, and I will say, shout out to the Twins for having balls. I mean, salespeople need to hit quotas. This one poor Twins sales person reached out to a guy and was like, "Hey, listen, I know it's not the best time, but was wondering if you would be interested in a flex pass for the rest of the season." I mean, it's comedy at this point, man. It's absolute comedy how bad of an organization this is. And how badly this has been run by this family for so long, and how sick and tired the Twins fans are of it. And the fact that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but years and years of such mismanagement has made them unsellable. And so now they're bringing in some minority owners, bringing cash flow that they can't get from the fan base, because I would doubt anyone's showing up the rest of the freaking season. And I promise you, those are going to be the cheapest tickets in the MLB here soon. And the Colorado Rockies are still the worst team in baseball. You know what I mean? It's a catch-22 for absolutely everybody, because owners aren't going to make money because people aren't going to show up. Twins fans are pissed because their baseball team they loved absolutely sucks and ownership doesn't care about it. So they don't want to spend their money on a team that's not going to do anything. And then it sucks for the players too, because, dude, getting traded sucks. Just moving in the middle of the season, that sucks. It's not fun. And they just do that to half their roster. And then think about the guys that are still there. You're like, holy shit, they got rid of all these guys on contracts like for a while. And I don't know, I'm just a sitting duck. I'm probably going to get cut going into or dealt after the season. And they're just going to call up all AAA guys on shit contracts. And again, it's all going back to the labor talks going on now and what's going on. And, it doesn't seem like the CBA is a big deal, but this next MLB CBA could affect fans more than ever, because, and it's the argument between a salary cap and a salary floor. And the players have made it abundantly clear they are not interested in a salary cap whatsoever. And they shouldn't be interested in a salary cap whatsoever. They fought so hard to keep it so that it wasn't a salary cap. They're not just going to give that back up because other teams are sucking. Because again, and I'm totally on the player side here, it's ownership's fault. It's the league's fault that those teams suck. Because there's no real incentive with the division of money and everything for these teams to produce, or for these teams to try, or for these teams to spend money and put out a good ball club. You know what I mean? And, we can look at the White Sox, we can look at the Rockies and be like, yeah, but like, look at them. They were literally the worst teams in baseball. That wasn't by design. That wasn't because they didn't spend money or anything like that. That was just bad management, bad talent scouting, bad thinking how stuff would go together. It's just bad situations in general. It's not necessarily the players are bad. Or, excuse me, ownership's bad. It's just that the system they got there is bad, and everyone's going to be out at the end of the season if they're not already out. But with the Twins, it is just a lack of interest from ownership. That truly feels what it is, just an absolute lack of interest of owning a major league team. And that's fine, and that's why they wanted to sell the team. They just couldn't, for the life of them, find someone that wanted to take on all that debt they've accrued over the years. And it sucks. Twins fans, I feel for you. I feel for you. It absolutely sucks. But what you going to do, brother? Just stop going. And I can't stress that enough. And I know it's hard, and I mean, you love something so much like a baseball team that you follow and you're with all the time, but you gotta make a stand as a fan. And whether that stand is going to be not watching them, not going to them, not paying your season tickets, not buying a hat, not buying a jersey, etc., nothing. And again, they probably still have more money than they know what to do with, but they just have this black hole of money called the Twins, an asset they've tried to offload and they have not been able to. So maybe they get rid of some of this debt in the next couple of years and are able to, but again, you don't have fans showing up to pay concessions and pay for tickets and everything. Where's that money going to come from? And really, this is why there should be a salary floor, because with the TV deals and the division of that money, how are these bigger teams that are actually trying to be good, not pissed that these bottom tier teams don't spend any money and then just sell off all the team? If there was a salary floor that you couldn't be below, well, then you're going to be in a better spot. And it doesn't harm the players and probably protects a lot of those guys, you know what I mean, that are in there for a cup of coffee, as a lot of MLB players are there for just a cup of coffee. And it probably helps them out a little bit. There's enough money getting thrown around in baseball. And with the names getting thrown around for who's involved in Sunday night baseball coverage next year, there's going to be money to be made. And baseball is healthy. Baseball is growing. My wife and I were just at a game last Sunday, and everyone there was families and young kids and everything, like getting into the game, actually watching the game. A lot of people scoring still, which I haven't seen in a while, but a lot of people scoring in the stands. And it was a nice day of baseball on a 116-degree day. Shout out to that AC that was struggling in Chase Field. But again, that's because the D-backs have made a World Series in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? And we understand that, hey, we might not, do anything this season, but in 2027, when we get all of our pitchers off Tommy John, we'll have a chance. But again, like, Twins fans are going to be less inclined to do that. D-backs ownership at least has shown us over the last couple of years, hey, we're trying. Like, we're going to sign Marte to a big deal. We're going to sign Corbin Carroll to a big deal. We're going to sign Perdomo to a big deal. We're going to sign Lourdes to a big deal. We're going to sign Zach Gallen to a big deal. Merrill Kelly to a big deal. Corbin Burns to a big deal. And, you got to trade off some stuff because we needed to sell at the end of the deadline. I get where we were coming from there with Suarez, Kelly, and Naylor. But at the end of the day, though, D-backs ownership has bought up enough goodwill with the fan base that they can afford to do that and not take a hit like the Twins are taking. Was as a fan, and was the D-backs fan base upset that we were losing Naylor and Suarez and Kelly? Absolutely. But I think a lot of us were more relieved that was the most damage that was taken on our roster because of the rumors about Gallen, the rumors about Carroll, the rumors about Ketel, and so it's an unbelievable position Twins ownership has put themselves in, and one that obviously is not going to get better anytime soon. They're not about to come out this offseason and just drop a bunch of money on free agents. That's not, they have shown that's not how this program operates. And again, feel for the Twins fans. Absolutely sucks to be you guys. But I mean, again, unless there's a salary floor implemented in the MLB, stuff like this will continue to happen. And it will just continue to build. More fan bases will get upset. And then we go back into an era of interest in baseball declining because too many owners can't afford to be MLB. And I hate to say that because these guys got more money than I'll probably ever see in my lifetime. But the Twins owners are coming off as we can't afford to be MLB owners. White Sox, Rockies, they're coming off as we can't afford to be MLB owners anymore. The tide has changed. We just can't afford that price tag anymore. And it's crazy that we're getting to that point, but we are getting to that point. So we'll see what happens with the CBA conversations coming up and everything. I'm sure we will hear a lot about it. But again, salary cap, not the answer. Salary floor is the answer. It's not players' faults these teams are bad. It's owners' faults these teams are bad. And their GMs. And their managers. It's their fault, really. They're the ones who put the team together. Can't blame guys for going out there and playing ball. It's your fault as a talent evaluator. It's your fault as a GM building a team and building a program, building a culture. That's completely on you, not on these guys that have been breaking their balls since they were kids, playing travel ball, playing college. It's not their fault that y'all can't manage a program. It's just not. Get a floor, not a ceiling. And well, Twins fans weren't the only ones to have kind of a bad week this week. As we go ahead and transition to the hard floor, NBA fans kind of got a reality check coming up here this week as the NBA schedules were released. Not only the holidays, but the full schedules were released for every single team. Shout out to the social media teams of NBA teams trying to do something like the NFL does with the schedule release stuff. Personally, a lot of it fell flat, but I do give an A for effort, but like a C- overall on the actual content that was produced. But A for effort, so shout out to you guys. But NBA not only released those schedules, they did release the weekly schedule of where you can find NBA games on what days. So let's go ahead and get this started. Start off on Mondays, where you'll be able to find NBA games on Peacock. Tuesdays will be NBC and Peacock. Wednesdays is ESPN. Thursdays is Amazon Prime. Fridays is Amazon Prime and ESPN. Saturdays is Amazon Prime and ABC. Sundays, ABC, NBC, and Peacock. Did you get all of that? Did you get all of that? And don't get me wrong, football is the same exact way nowadays. You know, you need to own every streaming service that exists in order to watch every single game if you want to. Even if you have Sunday tickets sometimes. You know, and we're getting to that point in almost every sport. That's just where we're at with this whole issue. And it's got to come to a headwind at some point, because I at some point it's just not going to be sustainable. It's not sustainable, and it's all going to come back around. And I promise, in 10 years, it's going to be a streaming service, but it's going to be a bundle, and it'll just be all sports or something like that, or the NBA package, which gives you access. I heard that on PMT today when they were talking about it. They said something like a sports tier in the streaming service. And so it's at a discount or whatever, but it's just the sports. You just get the live sports on there, or their sports, sports talk programs and stuff. And I think that would be a great idea. Save everyone a little bit of money, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, because all of these companies have dumped so much money into streaming, not just sports leagues, but these companies that actually own the streaming platforms. They've dumped so much money into streaming in general. They need to keep making it look like they're getting signups, that are getting subs, et cetera, even if you just have it for the NBA season and cancel it and then wait for the next NBA season. Doesn't matter, because those are new subs or recurring subs, et cetera. It's all making the bottom line look better, even though they're probably hemorrhaging money on streaming. It's funny. You start listening to, some of these entertainment companies and their streaming. They, used to tout their streaming numbers during the COVID era. Like, oh, we had 15% increase in signups and X amount of dollars, yada, yada. And you don't hear those numbers really being touted anymore, unless it's, NFL stream of, oh my God, it was the most viewed stream game in the history of the world. They'll tout those numbers, but they won't talk about signups anymore. They won't talk about any of that anymore. The numbers just might not be as impressive anymore. And so it'll all come back around. They'll figure out a cheaper way to do that. You know what I mean? They'll figure out a cheaper way to do that, but who knows? It's a wild schedule, though, if you're an NBA fan. That's tough. And like on Mondays on Peacock, if there's 15 games, can I select which game I want to watch on Monday, or are you going to make me pick? Like, you're going to pick for me? That's what I really want to know. We'll find out, but wild shit out of the NBA. And, it doesn't just stop there with the NBA doing absolute wild shit. WNBA is still in their bag, absolutely in their bag still. Just a different issue now. As we know, talks have been coming around with the new CBA coming up between the WNBA and their players. It all really started when during All-Star Game, they wore the, pay what you owe or whatever those shirts said, and then proceeded to have just a miserable All-Star Game. But again, no league does an All-Star Game justice. And so it's hard to really compare, like, well, they played awful that night after wearing that. Like, I kind of take it as just two separate, like, yes, they made a statement and then an All-Star Game happened in typical fashion. Like, what do you really thought they were just going to go out there and bust their ass? No, they got another second half of the season to play. Like, let's get real about what's going on with that. But the way they're going about it and everything, it turns out that the WNBA did make a counter offer of some sorts. They talked about they want more money. They want more money. And so they talked about a deal that would have quadrupled their pay. Reports coming out saying minimum of $66K to $250K is currently the pay structure of most WNBA contracts, going up to a maximum of, that maximum being increased to $1 million. And so that's a hell of an increase. That's a $750 million increase on the maximum. And so that's a big gap you can play with players that deserve it and everything. And promise you, Caitlin Clark's going to get that deal. And WNBA players saying it's a slap in the face, it's insulting, yada, yada. I'm just covering it because it's a news thing that happened in sports this week, and NFL was a little late this week. We'll get to Jerry Jones's craziness in a second, but I'm getting to the point where I wouldn't be shocked if we do see a work stoppage next year. And that is the absolute worst thing that could happen, not only for the WNBA, but for the players as well. You think, you know what I mean? Like, they're hot right now. The WNBA is hot right now. There is no denying it. There is no getting out of that realm. Like, the WNBA is hot right now. Numbers are doing good. Even when Caitlin's not playing, the numbers are still doing better than they have been in years past. Attendance is up across the board, even when Caitlin's not playing. It's all getting there. You know what I mean? But it's too little too early. If I'm the players, what I would want to do is let's do a short-term CBA. Let's not, lock in a 10-year, 15-year CBA. Let's do a 3 to 5 year CBA. You know what I mean? Let's 3 to 5 year CBA, and then let's revisit all of this. Let's let it settle down a little bit. Let's let, the fans really get invested, because the worst thing that can happen right now is a work stoppage. And this may be one of the few scenarios where the fan base would be willing to be patient enough and side with the players against the WNBA. But it also would be, it's not in our face anymore. It's not something that would be talked about anymore. And then once the sports media starts getting a hold of it, especially talking ESPN, FS, et cetera, then the narrative becomes, well, the players are being, unwilling, and the owners have given them so much and want to give them so much. They've got all this debt they got to pay off, et cetera, which they absolutely do and are valid points and everything. And I think that's a fairly fair, good faith offer, but they're just going to slap it in. It's going to lead to a work stoppage. The players want the WNBA to bend over for them and kiss their feet. And the WNBA is like, yeah, we would love to, but we can't. You're saying we have lips. We don't have lips to kiss feet with. We just don't. We don't have cash to give you. It's wild. This is going to be messy. This is going to be one of the more entertaining side storylines that'll pop up randomly on the bottom bar of ESPN during NFL games and stuff. But this is going to drag out. This is going to be really messy. And the way it's talking right now, it's leading to a work stoppage. And I have a completely different feeling. I know we were just talking about the MLB CBA coming up and the salary cap and everything. That is such a different conversation. You know what I mean? And I think the WNBA would be in a work stoppage before the MLB would be in a work stoppage. That's just where I'm at. And the WNBA players really want to make a point. Don't play in the playoffs. Don't play in the playoffs. Shut the playoffs down and then see what the WNBA is willing to do. But again, you got a good squad this year. You really want to sit out and not win a championship? What you've been working your whole life for? That's the conundrum these owners got players in. It's rough. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, obviously. It's insane. Just some side stories. I know everyone saw it. I personally didn't listen to it, but Taylor Swift was a guest on the Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce podcast, New Heights. And if you didn't notice, it did incredible numbers. Most concurrent podcast viewers, 400K plus subscribers on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did unbelievable numbers. Congratulations to the Kelsey brother. Like, really, I do not have any hate for this at all. Like, if you guys were looking for me to melt down and crash out over it, that's not, like, I don't listen to the podcast. Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce doesn't do anything to me. They try to show her on the screen. I don't care. Like, I'm over it. It doesn't matter. Like, dude's dating a girl who happens to be the biggest pop star in the world. Like, that's just what it is. You know, and everyone wants to make such a big deal about it. Like, who cares? Who cares? If anything, Taylor was just doing a solid for her boyfriend. You know, yeah, I'll come and announce my new album on your podcast and talk about it. Like, that was a, yeah, babe, I got you type move. But who cares? But congratulations to the Kelsey brothers for doing incredible numbers. Good luck, Travis, this season. I do have you on one of my fantasy teams, so please don't make me regret that. But yeah, good on them. Good on them. Last kind of random thing that popped on my timeline today, actually. And it's something that we always joke about, and people always joke about, and it seems like it may have taken too far, but it also seems like the reaction was not proportional to the system. Little League World Series is going on right now. ESPN has been spamming that, if you haven't noticed. And an official statement came out about betting on Little League World Series game. I am not shitting you. An official Little League response here. While Little League International continues to monitor the complexity and ever-evolving world of sports betting, we feel strongly that there is no place for betting on Little League games or any youth sports competitions. Little League is a trusted place where children are learning the fundamentals of games and all the important life lessons that come with having fun, celebration, teamwork, and playing with integrity, and no one should be exploiting the success and failures of children playing the game they love for their own personal games. Then just get rid of sports betting. I mean, no, really. I mean, first of all, if there is anybody online or at these games who's betting on these games and then going off on these kids, first of all, shame on you, sir. Shame on you. Second, you're betting on Little League games in the middle of the summer. Let's call the number. Okay. I mean, listen, we always joke about betting on the Little League World Series and stuff like that. Most legal markets, it's not regulated. It is, from what I've seen, a more offshore thing that you can get lines on of the Little League World Series. But bro, if you're betting on 12-year-olds playing baseball, like, please do yourself a favor and call the number. Call the number, get yourself some help, brother, because you shouldn't be doing that. You can probably be doing something. You should be working. That's what you should be doing. You should be working, brother. But just wild they had to come out with a statement like that. Just wild they had to come out with a statement like that. And last thing I want to touch on today, and I kind of was going back and forth of if I wanted to talk about it or not, because I'm doing exactly what he wants me to do. But it's Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, so how do you not talk about it? You know, Jerry Jones, the very humble, to himself person he is, was in front of a microphone again this week, multiple times this week, actually. And the clip that got me, the thing that got me, was he said something along the lines, essentially, of the Dallas Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days a year. Like, we keep relevant. If something's not going, hey, the Dallas Cowboys, there's something going on with the Cowboys. There's always something going on with the Cowboys, so that everyone's always talking about us, noticing us, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, we can say Jerry's a terrible businessman, doesn't know how to build a football team, is a terrible GM, doesn't know how to work these contracts anymore, or anything like that. Man knows how to play the game. I mean, really, he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to play the game. The NFL is where it's at in the media rights deals because of Jerry Jones. And so, yes, it would only make sense that Jerry Jones would be a mastermind of keeping the Dallas Cowboys in the news and in process as long as possible. And for whatever reason, in every offseason, it seems to work with contract news. Some big player for the Cowboys is up, and Jerry Jones is refusing to sign, refusing to negotiate. We'll break down why and what this means for the Cowboys for the next 45 minutes here. Welcome to First Take. I mean, Jerry's got it down to a science. He's got it down to a science. He's got a plan. He executes the plan to a T. And now, is it good for the players? Is it good for the team as a whole? Is it good for the organization? No. And I know Jerry obviously very much subscribes to the thought process of, well, you know, any PR is good PR. No such thing as bad PR. But yeah, no, Jerry, there are times where silence is golden, brother. And sometimes it's good that your team's just humming along, doing good, preparing, and there's not some big drama going on or some big piece that might be missing week one or might be sitting out this season. I mean, listen, Jerry, yes, he's still under contract for another year. You and I both know that does not mean he is playing football this season. You and I both know that, Jerry. And for what everything he's done for you, what he's meant to this team in this city, like what he's done for you and what he's asked to do for you, it's his time to get paid. You've paid everybody else and you've had no problem paying them well over market or well over their worth. And that's why you've had Dak Prescott restructure his contract almost every single year. No, every single year since you signed him to that massive deal. Yes, if you're not aware of that, Jerry Jones has made Dak Prescott has restructured his contract with the Cowboys since he signed that deal to make more money available. So that the headline can be, oh, Dak Prescott signs for huge, huge money and everything. Reality is he's seeing scraps of that, you know? But again, that's Jerry's plan because we're still talking about it. I'm sitting here right now. I fell into his trap. Damn you, Jerry. I fell into your trap. Here I am talking about the Cowboys again when there's no news except for what you said into a microphone. But it's not good for the organization, not good for the players, not good for the team, not good for anyone. It's just bad. So Jerry, please grow up, pay Micah Parsons, let us get to the NFL regular seasons. Please, we are begging you, brother. Begging. I lied. That wasn't the last thing I wanted to talk about. There is one more thing I want to talk about. And something we were kind of waiting on. I thought it was going to wait until the new year when this deal actually kicked in. But it appears it's going to be oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different platform. But no, Peacock. With the increase, a little bit in NFL games and everything. Thank you for being a Peacock subscriber. We want to let you know an upcoming price increase to your subscription. Prices as follow. Oh, I can get this pulled up for y'all. Looking at $10.99. Yeah, I mean, looking at about a $3 increase across the board, except when we get into the premium, where it's about a $30 increase there. So, yep. They take everything off cable. They make us pay for it. It's wild, man. It's wild. It'll come around, though. We just got to suffer through it a little bit longer, and then streaming will figure itself out, man. It's got to. This is not sustainable. This is just not sustainable, but I'm sure the big brains there will figure it out. I'm sure. But yeah, hey, that is all I got today and for this week. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Shout out again to everyone watching here on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow button. Does help us out a lot more than you know. Yeah, with all that, have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And good luck. God bless. I've been the Brofict One AJ, and we'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes.